And I think it's kind of passed a bit longer than 2 weeks that we usually do, but it's fine. But it definitely passed much longer than that since Dima was here with us. So, Dima, welcome again.
Welcome, welcome. Missed you. I feel
How
like
you doing?
you're doing this with all the other people on the team, and I was like, yeah, I want as
You
well.
started to feel jealous, like
Yeah, yeah,
feeling worried about your spot.
yeah. I just need to hear your voice a little bit through the mic.
So, okay, so we kind of will start. I will start with asking a bit about your experience, like to the audience and to the people that are now joining. We were on a company team offsite pretty recently, and basically this was our first opportunity to meet so many people in person for the first time, which was exciting on so many levels.
Yeah,
And the team grew kind of like again also in a crazy pace. So Dima, how was it for you?
it was quite a lot of fun. I when I finished it, I was like, I think I slept for 3 days because I was not sleeping quite a lot during this week. So it
Yeah.
was an amazing time and experience to meet. I think a lot of the faces. You sometimes work with people for so long, and suddenly you have the time to see them face to face. And the power of remote, you get a chance to work with so many unique people and personalities all around. Like that brings so many color and so many new ideas and kind of directions to the team, and it was really amazing to see everyone for the first time.
I love it. Here our producer just shared one of the images that we had
It was a cute
that we taken.
idea. Like I felt like in a
Yeah.
TV. Like started to speak, I got
Amazing.
the images behind.
Amazing. Shout out to our producer Kevin. Amazing. um all right, so and during basically the time that we had together, we had a lot of different discussions, professional ones, a bit kind of more casual ones, of course. But we also were talking about the overall vision for what Novu is and what Novu should and could be. And I think it's kind of there were so many amazing stuff and amazing things that we were discussing and building together. Um, and we will touch that very very soon. But before that, I would like, because you were absent from office hours for some time, I would ask you, and this is something that I'm going probably to start doing on a regular basis,
My
to ask
favorite
you
cheese, or
what
my favorite cheese, or
almost. What is the most exciting recent technology you came across?
yeah, it's a good question. Like I've been, taking a lot of different things recently and kind of trying to wrap my head around some cool things. There might not be so new, but they're kind of emerging in the space. So I've been recently. It's not necessarily a technology, but a bit more of a standard that is kind of shocking out a little bit the telecommunication or communication industry right now. And this is the latest announcement from Apple, actually, last 2 days ago, I think, at the WWDC, around supporting RCS, which is a protocol which is popularized by Google, and it was only supported for Android for quite a lot of years. And Apple
Hmm.
kind of joining forces and decided to support it in iOS. It's kind of a big thing, which is basically a way to make SMS great again. So kind of a lot of the similar experiences around rich messages, with images, with actions you can do around it. So think about some of the WhatsApp like experiences suddenly available, on both Android and iOS. And I was like diving deep. It was quite cool to see some of the implementation details and kind of how it all works. So really excited about it.
Sounds amazing. So right now, then I was kind of actually very excited for this particular session because the preparations for it also included to a bit of a deep dive to the new stuff that we are now trying to pioneer and to deliver to our audience, uh, to our actual users. So before we kind of going to actually do a deep dive, I would like you maybe um, to elaborate a bit more in terms of what is your understanding, what is that we are doing for the past kind of 2 years that we were building this amazing infrastructure, amazing tools, amazing technology. What have you learned so far in terms of kind of uh, our main users, that what they are searching for, what they need, and how we are actually going to deliver it to them?
Yeah, so the first one, building and delivering notifications to users is extremely hard. Um, it starts kind of simple, right? You something happens, you go, you grab the SendGrid SDK, or Mailgun, or not a sponsored show. You can use any provider, um, and you send an email. Simple, right? But it's kind of it's not it does not stop there, and I think the expectations of our users and the users of our users is growing in terms of their capacity to be communicated, because let's face it, we are bombarded with a lot of notifications, and sometimes the most important notifications, we actually lose them. They are not getting to us
Yeah.
because either they are masked by a lot of noise, or because they just written poorly, or just because they haven't delivered at the right time to the right device or the right mindset where I was in, and things can get lost. And sometimes they get delivered, but not in the right time, and then I'm forgetting about them because I don't have a place to go to.
Yeah.
Um, and the devices the users are operating are growing, and I think each device comes with a different mindset of the user, right? So there is a lot of challenges kind of in making sure everything speaks together, orchestrates, and there's been a lot of development in the past few years, and this is from the end devices themselves. When I'm saying end device, this might be your iPhone, this might be your Gmail email client, this might be Apple's mail client. But basically, the end devices also realizing users are frustrated by this, and they're trying to create ways to reduce the amount of messages the user sees. Problem being, you have zero control over their algorithms, and you have zero control of what they will do. The only thing that Apple is trying to do is to surface only the thing you actually care about, right? And when looking at this, recently, actually, Gmail started this quite a while ago. The three tabs: you have the primary, you have, I think, social and promotional. And
Promotion.
Apple 2 days ago announced in their new mail client, which is going to be also like a four tab way, which they have updates, they have primary, they have, and they called it, I think, uh, promotions, I think, as well.
Okay.
Um, the only thing you can do to kind of get the promotional kind of starting to be the new spam folder, essentially.
Yeah.
And the only thing you can do as a business is to create notifications your users actually care about, right? And usually those notifications are very well connected to the value you are delivering as a company, right? If I'm using, let's say, I don't know, Linear, which is a shout out. Really enjoy using their product. When I'm assigned to a task or somebody mentions my name in a task, I actually expect to be notified. I will be very disappointed if the team needs my attention on something and I miss this message, right?
Yeah.
So those are the notifications I not only care about, I actually expect as a user, and I'm looking forward to see them, right?
Hmm.
um, when I'm waiting. There's sometimes I'm eagerly waiting to something to happen, like to receive a message. You're like, yeah, you won the lottery. There are two types: the real ones and the spam ones. You kind of
Right.
you're really looking forward to get this lottery win email. But the point being, and kind of trying to bring it to your original question, notification systems are extremely hard to build, and there are multiple, I would say, personas that are involved within the organization in this type of value creation, right? We have the engineering teams who are actually building the features, right? They're building, let's go again with kind of the linear example, they're building the linear interface, the interactions the user can actually do. and the interactions human can actually and people can interact with each other through software, right?
Yeah.
My ability to communicate with you as my team member sometimes is limited by the notification system Slack, Notion, Linear provides, right? We are as effective in a lot of times as good as their notification systems are, right? And a lot of
Absolutely.
companies invest quite a lot of time doing that right, quite a lot of effort, thinking. And what we've learned really, in 2 years and keep learning is kind of the core, I would say, thing is very similar. It doesn't matter if you are a task management system, if you're GitHub, if you are Slack. There's a lot of commonalities and patterns that are emerging that users are starting to get used to, right? You're starting to get
Hmm.
used to the ability to snooze something, or like mark it
Yeah.
as read as seen, or like remind me later. And those people who are pushing those experiences forward, the companies that are pushing those experiences forward, investing a lot of resources into that, right? And I think as civilization in general, we're building on top of each other, right? And we're building just so we can focus on innovating in the space we are operating in,
Hmm.
right? We don't need to invest hundreds or thousands of hours in building something that 2,000 other companies already built, right? So this is, I
Yeah.
think, our mission as a company right now is to create the best notification experience ever, and it will take you less than 10 minutes to embed within your product, right? And it will not only meet, but it will surpass your user expectations of it, right?
Hmm.
So part of this journey, kind of, our day zero approach with Novu was, we're a developer first company, right? We're building the tools that developers need to actually, create those types of experiences. One of the biggest thing we are changing right now in the current release, which is expected to land in July, is it's honestly one of our biggest changes so far to the platform. And this change really kind of combines the learnings we had from the past almost 3 years, right? This is 3 years of working with customers, with community members, with our users, seeing their challenges, right? Where they
Yeah.
are not able to do what they want to do, right? It feels like we are still, and I'm saying this, we are still not at the point where I can feel comfortably, we nailed this one, right? And I feel like there is a learning curve we are doing as a company, as an organization, and the manifestation of it, I think, is the upcoming release. And I would say the main difference in perspective, right, we are doing
Hmm.
is trying to find the proper balance between the engineering teams, right? That they don't want to spend time on repeatable items. They don't want to, reinvent the wheel. They want to be able to facilitate, what the users of their product need, right? And to provide the
Hmm.
experiences and delight users on the other end. They
Yeah.
don't really want to spend their time, modifying a dot every time there is something, or maybe there is misspelling in an email, or adjusting, or adding, or like those types of the things. We don't want the engineers spend time on this. We want them to build the core values inside of their products, right?
Hmm.
And then on the other hand, you have, there are other team members who might not be technical users, right? They might be product managers, they might be product
Yeah.
marketeers, who are also operating, right, this notification platform within their organization. And when looking at this, you kind of start to see this pattern emerging of, okay, we have the builders, right, the people who are integrating it into the heart of their platforms, because you cannot provide meaningful notification to your users unless it's living very closely to the value you are providing to your users, right? And this is
Yeah.
within the actual feature. This is within the linear, issue tab, or in Slack. This is where I'm getting my value at. And
Hmm.
this integration, there's many company tries, and we've seen it over the years. Messaging platforms are not new. You see billion-dollar companies actually doing a lot of no-code, marketing automation utilities, which, by the way, you also need those types of things. It's, it's really important. They're driving revenue. There is a lot of value added to that. But
Yeah.
somehow those notifications that I've done this experiment, take a look at your primary tab on Gmail, try to see what notifications you're seeing there, right? The social tab and the primary tab. Notifications you are getting there are probably 95%, all of them written in-house in code, close to the value. When you're building a feature and you're defining a screen on the web interface, you build it, and notifications are part of this feature, right? They're not this outside thing that is not connected to the value you are trying to convey to your users.
Yeah.
And what you're really trying to do in this release is give the developers basically unlimited or unbound, basically, tool set or playground, really to be able not to build from scratch, right, but use all of all of the components we are providing, and being able to extend them to meet the custom needs of their organization, right? To
Hmm.
adapt, to adjust, to make it look like their own, right? You want your notifications to be a single thread of experience from your interface in the UI to the
Yeah.
messages your users receiving to the notification center that is embedded within your product. You want it to be cohesive and feel like a one experience, right? And this is what we're trying to solve, right? And I think right now, I think we found a way. We've been running with a few partners in the past almost 2 to 3 months with a new approach, and I think there is an amazing opportunity there to kind of try to find this balance between the power of code but the ease of use of a no code interface, right? And at
Yeah.
first it kind of sounds, it's something, there is like it almost goes against each other. And what you found, there is a bridge that can help us to kind of give the power to the developers, empower the developers to build whatever their internal organizations need in fraction of the time it would take them to do it without Novo. And this is really what we're trying to achieve since day zero, right? But
Yeah.
right now, this is where we have been busy in the in the last few weeks. We haven't been here on the office hours.
Yeah, so it's definitely kind of taking us back to, like, of course, we gathered like the actual vision. It always was there, or the actual value that we are trying to provide always was there. This is kind of was our North Star all along. But for all the time, kind of since Novo was founded and kind of the project was initiated, we were just creating building block after a building block and kind of trying to create those different basically abstracts that we could then get to the point after, of course, gathering all the feedback that we can, the insights that we are continuously uh, continue getting from our users, from the customers, from the people that are testing us, to actually come and shape it into what could really be just a no-brainer thing to, yeah, that's what I need. This is easy. This is what I want. Let's just make it happen and kind of just import the library into the code base and just fire it up in no time. So yeah, definitely. Um, so I think this could be a very kind of good time to actually dive deep, a bit deeper at least, to what the team been working on for the past few weeks, and just kind of for everyone who have joined us again. Welcome to the stream. And if you're interested, what was kind of the previous office hours with Dima, we basically kind of was showcasing and demonstrating a code first approach. This is again something that we're going to touch now, but again a bit more, much more shaped, and we kind of took it a few steps ahead. So Dima, you definitely up for to show this now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let me see if I can share my screen. Do you see it here? Yeah,
Yes.
fantastic. So the way we are, going right now around this whole concept of building really the building blocks of a modern notification infrastructure and providing really our developers and our users who are developers a framework to work with, right? And a framework is something that guides you. It's something that saves you time, right? It's something that provides you a best practice of how to do something. And this is what we are really trying to achieve right now. I will do a small kind of recap for maybe some people who haven't seen this yet, but basically, kind of the general building blocks of basically our approach of solving this problem. So, the code first approach is basically built around empowering developers, and I'll zoom in a little bit, to create basically their notification workflows, right? And define them using code close to their features, like close to their core value. They're living together, right? They're deployed together. They are created together with each other. But this is not it, right? So yes, I have created this workflow, I have created an email, I have shipped it. Now we need to start to maintain it, right? And the maintenance part is not should not be for the majority of the use cases on the developer, right? The developer needs to be able to create something for the rest of his organization that can be changed, modified, right, extended, without the developer needing to go back, and every time kind of work for the system. So the way we are kind of going around this, we have introduced basically a way, and currently this is a TypeScript SDK that basically allows you to define your workflow in code. I'm currently looking from the our documentation here, if anyone is interested. And you can see here an example of a workflow definition, right? So we're defining a workflow here that is basically sending an in-app notification to the user. Then it collects events for a week, right? And then we're sending a single email to the user saying, hey, there have been X amount of comments on your post, right? We don't want to send the user 100 emails whenever, if there is a bunch of people right now sending and commenting on it, or it's got a very popular post, for example. So the way this is working is our requirement is basically exposing a single entry point for the Novu endpoint to live in, right? So Novu essentially acts as a durable execution engine that is keeping the state of each individual workflow and making sure, if we are waiting for 1 week and collecting events, this particular function is not really waiting for 1 week, right? If your server kind of restarts and so on. And all of the complexity and heavy lifting about managing this queuing system is basically managed by the Novu workflow engine behind the scenes. So you're as an end user, you're basically getting exposed to define the things that are unique to you, right? And not dealing with all of the rest. So we can see that we can also use different essentially steps, and each step can affect each other, right? So we can see here we're sending the in-app, we are waiting for 1 week, collecting everything that happens, and then we are basically sending an email, and we actually will skip sending an email if the user has seen a particular notification, right? Or maybe all of them. So we don't want to send the email just because, right? We want to make sure that the user is only getting bothered on his phone only if he haven't seen this message, right? We don't need to send him something he just seen, right? So you can actually reference previous steps and make decisions or interactions based on them within the actual workflow definition. All right. So, two very important concepts that I would love to kind of showcase here. The first one is around the payload schema. So, the payload schema, this is basically what you all already know today when you are performing a trigger with Novu, right? You are passing a payload to it. This is basically the dynamic information part. This is going to be part of your notification. So when I'm commenting on a post, I might want to include, the maybe the text, the actual text content, or I want to include the name of the person who just mentioned me, for example, or something like this. And the payload schema is basically a JSON schema compatible interface, right? Uh, We are also shipping the support for ZOD definitions. So you can define your schemas using ZOD or go with the direct JSON schema integration. And basically to define what you need to actually send this message. We've seen so many times, it's always funny to see on Reddit or in some other places that, like hello null or welcome to undefined something. And why is it happening? It's happening because there is no strong validation about the type of payload that is required to deliver a particular notification, right? And we've seen so many embarrassing mistakes over the past, and we kind of this is our way of saying this is how we believe it should be done, and validation should happen on all of those areas out of the box. So the payload schema is for validating uh, the actual payload of the trigger. We are introducing another concept, and this is completely new, and we don't have something like this today, and this is the inputs, right? So the step inputs are basically a way for the developer to expose controls and levers and buttons and inputs to modify the content and the experience of an email, of an SMS, of a push to a non-technical team member while still abstracting away all of the complexity of HTML, client compatibility, maybe fetching some custom data, connecting it, manipulating it, and so on. And instead, they are exposing basically something to the non-technical person to be able to do. And I will show you an example of basically this is the current alpha stage functionality, and you can already see it as part of you can already go and try to play with it essentially. So just by running npx Novu Lab latest run, and you'll be able to basically also to experience those types of things. So what we're doing here is basically we are allowing, right? This is a React email template that was defined in a React using React email and Tailwind for mails. We also have integrations with Remix and with Vue and with Vue email, I think, using Next. And this particular example is working with an Next.js and React email integration we're seeing here. So all of those components are basically just React, right? All this email is basically composed of React. One of the things we can do, right, is we can start potentially creating our workflow, right? The things I'm doing right now, I'm doing them really kind of in a no code fashion, right? Because the developer in my team has provided me the tools to do this safely while my emails are still look on brand. They are, similar to our brand guidelines. They're not, all over the place with every new email that is delivered. So we're going to use something here that is called, I don't know, welcome message, right? So I have created basically a header, and then I would love to go and I would love to say, hey, I would love to add a small divider. And then I would love to add a text. And in this text, I'm going to say, welcome to our Hello World app. And let's say I want also to add a button that says join now. So you can see that I have generated, basically scaffolded right now, an email which is completely controlled, or created one time by the developer in my organization. And basically this now allows me to modify content of existing emails, right? Or add add new elements, or maybe experiment with some of the things. For example, let's say we want to, I don't know, hide this particular footer, right? And now it's hidden. Now, behind the scenes, and I'll show kind of a little bit the code here, and just for people not to go blind by the light thing here. um, let's take a look at kind of the definition of the thing that I've just showed you all. So what we're looking here is basically we are rendering an email using React components, right? So basically the thing we're seeing here essentially is a React email component using Tailwind, and I can import and run code here. I can actually import and reuse my existing design system colors from my brand, right? The same ones I'm using from my front end code. I can actually reuse either some of the components, but also the styling elements, the assets like photos, links, all of those types of things are really easily accessible to me here. And we are getting basically those inputs and rendering them, right? So if we need to render a heading, we're going to render a React email heading and basically pass the component text as part of the actual implementation here. Similar for a button, for a text. So we're looking at this, and basically our goal is to allow developers build a design system for their notifications, right? You don't want to reinvent the wheel, copy paste, content, components, all of those things from workflow to workflow. You want to be able to create it in one place and reuse it, right? And I think one of the biggest changes we are implementing here, that the definition and the actual content of all of those workflows, emails, complex interactions, is happening with code, right? It's running inside of the customer's VPC. He can get access to internal information he needs to hydrate just in time before sending this email, right? For example, one of our customers, who is basically one of the leading marketplaces in the real estate area, have similar flow, like doing, this weekly digest. And one of the challenges there is that, hey, a week passed, maybe some of the apartments are already not relevant. Why should we send our users an email that will state, here is an apartment update you can get, but then the user clicks and he sees this apartment is actually not longer existing, right? So a lot of those things basically allows our users to run actual code, access their database here, uh, and really have complete control of what's happening in customization, with integrating with legacy systems, integrating with their developer frameworks and tools like feature flagging. For example, we're using Launch Darkly to control parts of changes to our notification, just to make sure we're delivering a unified basically development experience across building the feature and adding notifications as part of the feature, right? Like in the PRDs, right, there is like this notification check, and really this is part of it. And the way to go about this is making sure it's living closely. And this also enables the world of, okay, we can reuse a lot of those elements, right? We can reuse a lot of components that we don't have to create. It might be community-driven components that have been created, or even agencies that are specializing in components who are able to actually, provide their components as part of a ready-to-use set of beautifully looking emails and so on. This is basically our way to say we're building the framework here, right, for developers, and we are empowering them really to build the tools for their teams to maintain and control their notification systems. So One of the main things that are basically going to happen in the upcoming release. So we've been running in the alpha stage for quite a while now with a few customers who've been providing feedback to us, and we've been working quite closely with them to kind of understand what are the challenges and what they would love to see there. And one of the things we are currently working in is basically integrating everything in one place, meaning that we have a single point of entry, the web.novu.co, which will basically provide two types of experience, right? The local state experience is the builder phase, right? This is the where you would work with your existing IDE to create, the requirements basically that you need. And then we have the other interface basically where you can modify the things that you have built without any modification to the actual code, right? So this is the no code element that users can do. So there is a lot of interesting goodies that are going to be delivered as part of it, and I think we've mentioned the Zod integration that is shipping. We are introducing a custom step mode. We are introducing quite a lot of enhancement to existing providers, like the ability to use Slack blocks or complex Discord or Microsoft Teams interactions, more advanced and low-level access to the SDKs from the push vendors out there. So there's quite a lot of exciting things that I am really happy kind of and can't wait to show the product in full and kind of be able to see what people are building with it. I'm kind of getting always, I would say, surprised by the creativity I'm seeing with this new approach, and we've seen some amazing examples of integrating ChatGPT as part of the notification flows, and kind of a bit more AI driven items. For example, one of the really cool things I think one of our team members did is basically replicating the latest Apple announcement, right? That they're actually using a pre-header, which is an AI summary of the email content. So you would see it in the first line in the pre-header in Gmail. So those types of flows are really no longer than 10 minutes of work to build with our new approach, and kind of be able to really unlock so many possibilities that are unfortunately currently our customers just not able to achieve. And one of the biggest learnings I think we've learned is, you know, developers need to have kind of a solid framework, an opinionated framework, right? To create very complex interactions with very minimal amount of time. And we don't know what they will do with it. Like, I'm getting surprised by our design partners. They're sharing us some crazy examples of what they're building with their new framework SDK. So yeah, I think this is the kind of main things I wanted to share. And yeah, Emil, back to you. I think you are on mute, or I am on mute, or we are
No,
both.
no, it wasn't. It was
Yeah.
me. Sorry. I actually started kind of very strong. Yay! I'm so excited, and then I'm on mute, so it didn't really pass through. But no worries, no
Uh,
worries. Uh, it's so as I was saying, it's really exciting. Um, how like by far what was so you shared, for example, the integration of AI into notification. Do you think it could be actually a thing that AI kind of driven messaging and notification would be a built-in thing?
so I can tell you a small hackathon we did internally, and then I feel that you would not want AI to control things that you have no idea about, right? It is good in some
Hmm.
areas, but it's still early and maybe scary in some other areas, right? I'm not seeing, like, yeah, just let AI do whatever it needs to, right? Um, but it can be helpful with understanding something in the context of the message, right? It can
Hmm.
help understanding the priority or urgency of a message, right? It can help understand the meaning, or like maybe potential action that is expected out of a
Hmm.
message, right? And those are the types of things I'm currently looking into. I think there's, you can use it for translating things. But again, this is for me personally, I think it's a bit risky, kind of to let something quite unexpected to make messages that might be sensitive and so on. So I would it is possible to do.
Hmm.
We actually had one use case within the team who's been be able to achieve, auto translating messages on the fly without ever, creating those types of things. But I think it's a bit early for those types of use cases. But the areas where you can actually make a decision or help with enhancing the content of a message, like its priority, maybe the
Hmm.
category of the request, right? What type of a message or notification I'm getting, and classify it in a way. I think those are the use cases I'm a bit more excited on, which I think
Hmm.
has much relevant and I would say trustable, up to a point, obviously. Trustable, basically, outputs you can apply next week with our new framework support.
And do you think that, in a general sense, I guess I totally understand your point in terms of like giving um, the ki- the kind of the progress of the AI that it's making in terms of the way that it ables to communicate and ables to deliver. Maybe it's, yeah, it's, I guess, still a bit too soon. But would you say that it could be a bit more um, in place for for example, a digest logic where you basically already receive all the context of the notifications that were sent, and then you want to digest kind of all the content that were sent in a very kind of helpful manner that will not be kind of too much, and kind of there you don't really kind of giving too much of kind of no boundaries for AI to create and kind of collect all those points and actually to deliver something meaningful. What do you think about that?
100%. So there are two types to it, right? The first one here is like 500 things happened while I was on vacation. Give me the TLDR at the top of the email, right? For
Yeah.
example, or maybe I'm going to vacation. I can enable like I want to digest the next 2 weeks, right? And just give me the TLDR, right? Or maybe surface the urgent things I need to pay attention first, and then the rest. So this is an amazing thing. On the other hand, sometimes digesting is a problem, right? So let's say I'm digesting all of the things for 1 week, but something urgent happened on Monday, really urgent, like that really needs my attention. I don't want to wait a week to get it.
Mm,
In that
yeah.
sense, AI can help say, oh, you know what? This is a really urgent message based on some criterias. I want to skip the digest and send it immediately, right?
Yeah.
So those types of things, I think there is a lot of ideas that kind of going on right now within the team, and I'm extremely excited to see kind of what the community will be doing with it.
We have one question here from the chat from YouTube. What significant changes can we expect to see in Novu? In the, I guess, the scope. Let's go first with the upcoming months, but you can also slightly touch the quarter thing.
Yeah, so basically the release of the new framework and basically the code first approach to creating dynamic notification workflows. I think this is one of the biggest changes we are introducing in the past quite long time. I think it's using, as you mentioned, Emil, a lot of the same components we already have, right? The in-app notification center, the delays, all of those things are still there. The user preferences, it's just basically a different way of interacting with them, right? And it's a different way of being able to define them in a much more expressive way, right?
Hmm.
But still, giving the power to the other team members who might not be as technical or code savvy, so they don't never need to see your code or HTML of a particular email. So I think this is one of the biggest things that is happening right now, which is basically a completely new interface to define and run workflows within Novu. This comes with a lot of amazing integrations, like with React Email, MGML, with ViewMail. And we are seeing some examples even with some headless, I think, CMS frameworks, localization frameworks. So there is a lot of integrable parts that are kind of will be coming up in the next months. This is our team, our DevRel team is really helping us to kind of surface a lot of the community ideas around it. So yeah, I think this is one of the biggest changes that is going to happen. The second one, we actually have a few. I haven't mentioned this, but in July it's going to be quite a happy month. We are shipping basically the new version of our REST API SDKs across beginning of 4 languages. So they're going to be auto-generated, up to date, and basically what happened right now is we have kind of a few SDKs that getting a bit more love than others, and like this inconsistency is not something we are happy about. So we will be releasing a partnership with partners that's called Speakeasy, which I'm really happy to shout out to. And we'll basically be releasing our next gen of REST API SDKs, which going to improve the developer experience quite significantly when using the RESTful service of Novu. And secondly, we are currently working on the next generation of the notification center component. This is one of our most used channels on the platform, the
Yeah.
notification bell. And basically, we are currently working on the next gen, and we've taken all of the feedback we've heard in the past. So this is for technical things like how do I style it easily? How do I make sure it's the look and feel of my application in a very good developer experience flow? And on the other hand, things like reducing the bundle size very significantly, making it much more lightweight, composable, and just providing us a framework to build on top some amazing
Hmm.
things down the line. Things like snooze notifications, reminders, very new slick user interface, and a very modern user interface kind of for those items. So yeah, there is a lot of exciting things kind of looking at July
Yeah.
and the month after this. But I think the main aspect of it is really kind of the perspective of how you define and manage, I would say, notification workflows within the system.
Yeah. So we also we did not had the time to show it right now in this session, but the kind of the overall interface and the feel of the environment, for example, for the developers and for the those who are actually kind of creating the code workflow or kind of setting the boundaries, is a bit different and more attuned to them, where the product people and the marketing people who are actually managing the content and managing kind of the all observability and kind of the delivery maybe side of stuff,
Yeah,
um, yeah, they have a separate experience, where our point is to deliver the best experience to both of those basically users, because we serving developers in a very to a very high end, but we also serving product people and marketeers who are going to manage the notification content after the developer and the engineers set the boundaries, set kind of the ground for the workflows to actually work and to be executable, and then just to hand it off to the other teams to keep on working with much less kind of code involved, even like no code at all.
yeah,
And this is very very significant changes. um, and I'm going to wrap up the session and tell you all, I know that the majority of the people who are watching this session coming from Twitter. So it's great because on Twitter, this is the place where we usually are the most likely to share the most recent, the most up to date stuff that we are releasing, the change logs. But you also very welcome to join our Discord server, where you can find me, find Dima, find the team, ask the questions. Maybe just connect with us via a call or something if you have something unique or some proposals that you had in mind. Um, and of course we have our newsletter. I mean, and it doesn't matter kind of how banal it sounds, but yeah, the newsletter is still kind of the channel that we are delivering email notifications to you on a monthly basis at least, trying to provide kind of the best value and the best news and updates that you want and need to receive about what we are building, because we are growing significantly in a very high pace. We're changing a lot of stuff, again, also in a very high pace, and we just want to deliver the best experience for everyone. So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
There is, I think, one last question from.
yeah. I will read quickly the question. Dima, I'm a great admirer of your work. Shout out to Dima! Yay.
Shout out to the
My
team.
second question.
I'm just trying to not distract our team members from doing the initial.
Yeah, definitely. Dima, one of the most significant, I think, and Dima, you can cover your ears for that if you want. But one of the most significant qualities that I think that Dima has is to actually being able to sort and filter the people who are joining the team and to identify the unique qualities and talent. So definitely the team that we have in Novu is just phenomenal. And yeah, of course, it's thanks to Dima, to Tomer, to all the management staff. But again, to to the second question from Illegal Fix is who are your competitors in the notification infrastructure space?
Yeah, I
Ooh,
will give
tricky
you an
one.
answer. Yeah. I think that the answer is quite simple, and in reality, our biggest competitor by far is building this in-house, right? In reality, what we've seen so far, we are trying to say to people, hey, don't reinvent the wheel, right? Because sometimes, yeah, it's just simple. I'll just use the SendGrid SDK, and this is like the majority of the whole market. I think this is the biggest competitor for us in terms of kind of trying to sway the minds of people. Hey, you actually don't have to do that, right? In some
Yeah,
spaces, if you look like at the auth zero space, or if you look at the kind of Stripe of
it's
the world,
Stripe. Yeah. Hmm.
it's a no-brainer. Nobody even thinks when he starts a company, yeah, I'm going to, build my own billing system. Why not? Uh, we are not there yet when looking at kind of the notification infrastructure space. And a lot of the players, we're all early stage. I think all of the players on the field, and they have a few amazing companies, that we are working with together in the space. And if you look at companies like Carrier, like Knock, I think I've seen a bunch of new ones that are popping out in the space. And I think, we all of us have our differences. I think one of our main differences around this area is that we are really laser focused on the engineering persona, and everything we're doing kind of is, trying to figure out this path of understanding how can we provide the best DX, the best value to our customers through that. And our way of doing this, right, is being open. Our way of doing this is being open source. Our way, one of the main things of why we are doing this is because we understood from the very first day that we must learn fast. And I think the only way of learning is by being open, right? And being able to hear the challenges of tens of thousands of developers who are interacting with Novu on the daily, weekly basis throughout our
Mm.
different channels. So I think this is, who we are, and we are true to our kind of core beliefs. But I think really the main challenge right now is kind of building this market that you will be looked at the same weird look when you would say, yeah, let's build it in house. No, like you should not. So
Yeah,
that's, I would say, our biggest competitor.
yeah. Our biggest, we could also say that our goal is to make the suggestion of building a notification infrastructure in house to just prompt a cringe reaction like, what? Why? This
No,
is,
you can build it, but it'll come back in like 2 months
yeah.
after. after you accidentally sent 1,000 emails to your whole user base second after second accidentally. By the way, true story happened to me and Tomer. Was one of the reasons we actually started the company in the first place. It was a funny night. It was like, I think maybe 8 or 9 years ago. Funny times.
All right, Dima, thank you so much for this session, for this time, for your leadership and the vision that you share with us, and just doing all the work that you do. And thanks to all the audience and everyone who came, who dedicated a few minutes, maybe even the entire session of their time to actually sit, maybe walk and listen to us, where we're all sharing with about what's happening. So again, thank you everyone so much. We should meet again in 2 weeks. So just stay tuned. Make sure to follow us on the main page on X, on Twitter, and or on every other platform that you are much more likely to be active on, and you prefer. So again, thank you so much for everyone who joined, and Dima, thank you. All right,
Ciao.
bye bye.